Are you trying to decide whether you want a real estate agent to help you in your home search? Well, that's what we're talking about today. So let's dive right in. My name's Harry Moore, and I'm an associate broker with EXP Realty. And today we're going to talk about whether working with a real estate agent when you're buying a home makes sense for you. If you've never bought or sold a house before, or even if you have, but it was a number of years ago, I believe that having a professional who's on your side can be a great benefit to you. Buying real estate's complicated. There's lots of moving parts, and it's easy to make a mistake if you don't know what you're doing. I might change a light switch, but I would not swap out the breaker box in my house. I'd call an electrician. I'd go to court myself for a minor traffic violation, but anything more than that, and I'd want an attorney. We live in a world full of specialists, and a good realtor is a specialist at helping their clients navigate the twists and turns of a real estate transaction successfully. If you hire a high-quality agent to represent you, then you'll have someone who understands the process from beginning to end. They'll be there to guide you through it all. In Maryland, D.C., and Virginia, all real estate agents represent the seller by default. That's the law. So, if you work with the seller's agent, they can't negotiate on your behalf or give you their full loyalty and highest level of care. Legally, they owe their allegiance to the seller, and that means they're duty-bound to get the best price and terms for that seller, not for you. If you want someone to represent you, then you have the right to hire your own agent, someone to be on your team. That means you'll have to sign a written agreement with that agent. That agreement is called a buyer agency agreement or buyer broker agreement. I like to look at them as a short-term employment contract. It outlines what the duties and responsibilities of each party are so that everyone's on the same page. Once that agreement's signed, then the agent becomes your agent. They're on your team. They'll negotiate on your behalf, keep all your confidential information private, and give you the highest level of service that they can. So you might wonder, how much is hiring an agent going to cost me? Well, that would be written into the buyer-broker agreement so that there's a clear understanding from the get-go. Even though a majority of agents work under the umbrella of a larger company, like me, I work under the umbrella of EXP Realty, technically we're independent contractors. So each agent has their own business practices, and that's something that you would discuss with the agent when you're going through the buyer-broker agreement. When a homeowner decides to sell their house, they'll usually hire an agent to represent them. And one of the things that agent will discuss with the seller is offering compensation to the buyer's agents who are in the market as a way to get them to bring their buyers through, and that'll get the house maximum exposure and the best net terms for the seller. So the compensation that they agree to is shown in the multiple listing service, which is the database that all real estate agents use to find houses for their buyers. It's also the primary source of listings that you'll see on portal sites like Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com, and most of the other search engines that are out there on the internet. So if an agent subscribes to the multiple listing service, which most do, then they'll know what the compensation is that's going to be offered up front. If there's a difference between that amount and what they've agreed to with their buyer, then the buyer and their agent should discuss that before they go to see the property. And if the buyers purchase that home, the buyer would then be obligated to pay that difference at settlement. You might wonder, what about the houses that aren't in the multiple listing service? Well, let's take a minute to talk about that. Some homeowners try to sell their houses without the help of a real estate agent. They're generally called for sale by owners. Many of them try to sell on their own for a period of time, and some succeed and some don't. My experience is that most for sale by owners are perfectly willing to pay a buyer's agent's compensation. They're just trying to save paying the seller agent side. The key is for the buyer's agent to contact those sellers and to discuss that right up front so that everyone's on the same page about what's going to happen. You've decided that you want an agent to represent you. Well, how do you pick the best one for the job? Here are a few questions to ask that'll help you decide which agent might be the best fit for you. Question number 1. How many buyers do you work with at one time? If they say more than about 4 or 5, then they're probably working on a team And that means that you might get handed off to another agent for showings and then possibly another agent to help you with writing the offer and so forth. For some people, having one point of contact from the beginning to the end can help to make the process smoother and less stressful. But the key is for you as the consumer to understand how it's going to play out from the get-go. Question number 2. Are you full-time or part-time? There are a lot of part-time agents out there, and the National Association of Realtors just hit a record for number of members at 1.6 million agents. So there are lots of agents who are just trying to get into the business while still holding down another job. No judgment here, but you need to know that before you sign a contract with them. Question number 3. How long have you been an agent? Again, this is not the be-all and end-all, but it's important for you as the consumer to understand how many times an agent's been through the process. One of the things that you're hiring them for is to help to guide you, to try and make it as smooth as possible, and to help you avoid problems and pitfalls. So it's helpful if they've been down that road before. Question number 4. Do you have any reviews or testimonials? Check them out online, see what other clients have to say about the service they provide, and see if they sound like someone who you'd like to work with, somebody who'd be a good fit for you. It's also really important to get together with the agents that you're thinking about working with and to have a face-to-face conversation. I do a lot of my first conversations over Zoom these days. It's a great way to get an initial read on each other, and then if it feels right, you can schedule an in-person meeting. You're going to be spending a lot of time together and sharing a really important transition in your life, so it should feel like a good fit. Question number 5. What's the time frame for your buyer agency agreements, and what if things don't work out? It's really important in any business relationship like this for there to be a clear exit strategy. I base my timeframes on the buyer's situation and optimal timing, and how much inventory and turnover there is for the type of property that they're looking for. But as a general rule of thumb, I start with 90 days and then move it up or down a little from there, depending on the buyer's situation. I also structure my buyer-broker agreements so that either party can cancel with 72 hours written notice. Question number 6, and this is a biggie these days. What does the agent do to find off-market properties? In today's crazy low inventory market, it's really important to think outside the box and see what kind of opportunities might be out there. There are a variety of ways that an agent can try to surface potential properties, some old school and some high tech. What does that agent do to help their buyers find those potential sellers? So that's part 3 of my series on how to buy a home in the DC metro area. I hope that you found this helpful. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you'd like this video. It'll help the algorithm to put it in front of some other folks who might benefit as well. If you'd like to see the earlier videos in this series, click over here. And if you'd like to subscribe to my channel so you can get notified about new videos whenever they come out, click over there. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.